Story 1. I got a book called Getting Things Done: The Art of Stress-Free Productivity about 12 years ago. I haven't read it yet, but I think it's supposed to help. Story 2. I call it reverse procrastination. I am quite lazy in many ways. All I want to do is relax. However, when I choose to relax first, I do not feel the full effect. The tasks I have to complete hang over my head, making it hard to enjoy my relaxation. If I can just finish those tasks as quickly and effectively as possible, I can truly relax without the stress that usually comes with it. Story 3. I visualize what the first step in the task could look like in concrete terms. I give myself permission to stop the task once I work on it for a set amount of time if it becomes painful. The two fallacies of procrastinators are, it will be unpleasant, and once I start, I'll have to work on it for hours. Story 4. Procrastination is a counterproductive response to anxiety. With a little mindfulness, when you understand that this behavior amplifies anxiety, it becomes easy to reject the idea of procrastination. Additionally, procrastination is inefficient. It is unwise if your goal is to be productive, but it is even more unwise if your goal is to be lazy. When you procrastinate, you are ultimately doing more work to achieve less. If you choose to be lazy, at least do it well. Story 5. I take action immediately. I had a boss who was a chronic procrastinator, always delaying payments to bills and employees until the last minute. I wasn't much of a procrastinator before that experience, but after I left that job, I started working for someone who paid his bills promptly and ensured that I received my paycheck at the same time every Friday. I aspire to emulate his approach in my life, rather than the previous negative experience. Story 6. Procrastination is often driven by the fear of immediate consequences. For anything that doesn't have an immediate impact, I tend to procrastinate. I may have attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, but I prefer not to self-diagnose. Story 7. Honestly, when I think of something I need to do, I do it right away. Over time, I train myself not to procrastinate, and I begin to realize that it's often not as bad as it seems if I just take care of it immediately. Once all my responsibilities are complete, I can relax in peace without the weight of procrastination looming over me. Story 8. Do it now. If you put it off, tasks compound and become more difficult to manage. Guaranteed. Story 9. The madness. I believe I am very obsessed. My body shakes, and my mind feels very stressed when I have not done what I was supposed to do. Story 10. The secret is how adaptable the human brain is. You can build new habits within 2 weeks. Your brain adapts and restructures easily. The first week of discipline is hard because it is a change. Then, all of a sudden, it becomes your routine. Story 11. Be late enough on something truly important that your life trajectory changes, and then you will forever refuse to make the same mistake again. Story 12. I love the feeling of completing tasks ahead of time or on time, allowing me to avoid worrying about them. I may not always enjoy the process of doing something, but having it finished is wonderful. Story 13. I treat tasks as if my future self is a completely different person, and honestly, I do not trust that version of myself. So I just get it done now because I know if I wait, I will regret it. Additionally, I break things into small steps so it does not feel overwhelming. Completing one small task gives me the momentum to keep going. Story 14. Extreme laziness. I don't want to remember to do anything later. I want to complete it quickly and forget about it. Story 15. They must not have attention deficit/hyperactivity disorder. The only way I accomplish anything is by procrastinating until I am under time pressure. Story 16. My father always told me, once you have a task to do, it's better to do it than to live with the fear of it. Story 17. Knowing that tasks get bigger and multiply like metal coat hangers in a dark closet if you don't tackle them. Story 18. Procrastinating is always worse when you ignore it from the beginning. My secret is to at least start the task before I decide not to do it. In essence, start early and take frequent breaks. I find it helps to process the task better and get things done efficiently. Story 19. I meant to respond to this 8 hours ago, but now is good enough. Oh wait, I'm definitely not the intended audience here. Story 20. I need more time to stream at night, so I ensure that I complete all my chores during the day. For a more straightforward approach, I focus on organizing what needs to be done and planning them out to complete them efficiently. Story 21. I believe that individuals who never procrastinate have a supportive presence that helps them prioritize their tasks. This support encourages them not to procrastinate. Conversely, people who procrastinate often lack the support, which makes it difficult for them to take the initial steps needed to move forward. Story 22. Create a tight schedule and commit to it. Willpower is key initially. Once you get into the rhythm of action, procrastination becomes frustrating. Story 23. If I know I have to do something, I just want to get it out of the way so I can relax or engage in another activity afterward. However, this can backfire at work. If you complete your tasks, your only reward will be more tasks. Story 24. I still procrastinate often, but I have quickly learned that I feel better after completing tasks than from the pressing anxiety of them not being finished. I found it impossible to maintain this during my engineering degree and in my current job. Focusing on getting things done now rather than later helps me stay grounded and prevents stress from accumulating. Story 25. It's an investment in my peace of mind and my free time. If I have something due, I think, let me do this as soon as possible so I can be the easygoing person I want to be. You are helping yourself relax and succeed. Although I still procrastinate occasionally, to be honest. Story 26. If I don't do something right at that moment, I forget about it and don't address it later. Story 27. One concept is sneaking past resistance. If you have a task, ask yourself how long you can do it without feeling resistance. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or 3 minutes. Take cleaning your office as an example. How long would you be willing to start on it, knowing you could leave in 3, 5, 10, or 20 minutes? Select a time and set the timer. Let's say you decide you can work for 5 minutes without panicking. You work for 5 minutes. You can quit, or if it's not feeling as bad as you thought, you can continue for as long as you feel comfortable and quit without guilt either way. We are psychologically wired to resist unpleasant tasks. If you can determine how long you could work while feeling okay, knowing that you can stop without guilt, you can bypass the resistance. When I do this exercise, I often realize the job isn't as bad as I thought it would be, and I end up working longer. However, I have also quit at times and returned to it the next day. Another idea is to do one thing each day that you really don't want to do. You become more comfortable being uncomfortable. An organized lawyer friend says she tackles the task she dislikes most first thing in the morning when she arrives at work. Then the rest of the day is always better. Story 28. I need to do it sometime, so I might as well get started now. I find that I achieve the best results when I think about things over a period of time. This means working on it a little, then focusing on something else. When I return to it later that day or the next, I have a new perspective and likely better ideas. Procrastinating until the end leads me to come up with whatever pops into my head in a panicked state of mind. Story 29. It feels so much better to have already completed the task. Plus, you can take pride in your home. Everything looks nice, the sheets are crisp, and there are no dishes waiting to stress you out. Everything you accomplish means one less thing to worry about for the entire evening. I believe it comes down to practicing tackling unpleasant tasks. Confront that challenge once or twice, then pay extra attention to the wonderful feeling of no longer having to deal with that task again, possibly ever. I now find myself frustrated about emptying the dishwasher, but I realize this halfway through the task because starting it has become automatic, so I might as well finish. Then suddenly I am done and free from dishes for a while. Nothing feels worse than procrastination. Once your body recognizes that it has the power to choose an alternative, it becomes easier to bypass the painful deliberation that lasts twice as long as the task itself. Story 30. The faster I get it done, the more worry-free I will be. Otherwise, I will procrastinate until the last minute and then be worried I won't get it done on time. That said, this applies to tasks with clear deadlines. Anything like chores or open-ended assignments can be challenging. I'm still capable of completing tasks in a timely manner, but I won't be as dedicated as I would be with something that has a specific completion date. Story 31. If I have something I need to do, it bothers me until it is done. I try to get things done in the morning because the feeling of not having anything to do afterward for the rest of the day is very nice. Story 32. Anxiety is a pressure that needs release, so the easiest way to deal with it is to take action. I prefer to address tasks immediately rather than feel bad about postponing them. Story 33. Repetition and confidence in my actions have improved. I used to worry about the quality of my reports or how to begin. After completing around 100 reports, it became automatic. Templates, outlines, and lists are helpful for breaking tasks down. I tackle the easier or quicker tasks first for a sense of accomplishment, while others prefer to address the harder ones first, whatever works best. Story 34. If they reply here, trust me, they procrastinate. They're on Reddit to avoid doing something else like I am. Story 35. Just complete the task and get it out of the way as soon as possible. Otherwise, it looms over you and you start to feel bad about it. Story 36. Thinking about how much time I have wasted procrastinating in the past and how I cannot regain any of that time. Story 37. Asking Reddit is not the best place to get answers for this. No one comes here to avoid procrastination and specifically look for your question to answer it. Story 38. When you realize that you spend more time thinking about doing what needs to be done than actually doing it. How long does it take to pay a bill? 2 minutes. How many times can I look at the bill, think about it, or remind myself to pay it? All that on top of actually having to do it. It's cheaper to just get it done. Story 39. Understanding that if I don't do it now, I'll procrastinate and have a 50% chance of forgetting it altogether. Doing it now only requires a short burst of willpower and discomfort. Not doing it now will cause me stress, the same amount of discomfort, and could negatively impact my professional standing with colleagues or others who depend on me to finish the work on time. This thought process did not develop overnight. It has been shaped by experiencing negative consequences repeatedly. Story 40. For work and home, I keep a to-do list for the day. I label each task as A for must complete today, B for work on this next, and C for everything else. I typically have 1 to 3 A tasks for a day. Knowing what to focus on reduces mental stress and improves productivity. Story 41. I dislike doing tasks. Every morning when I get home from work, I make myself complete a few chores to avoid the anxiety of thinking, I have to do this later. Story 42. The need to remove tasks from my responsibilities rather than worry about them is important. When they linger, they become more overwhelming and distressing. Story 43. It seems stressful to me to have tasks hanging over me. I want to set myself up for a calm life with as little worry and stress as possible. I do not want to feel rushed, and I associate procrastination with feeling rushed in the end. However, I am careful with what I take on as responsibilities. Story 44. This is something my father instilled in me while I was growing up. It started when I would get woken up for school and was too tired to get up. He would say, "The mind tells the body what to do." After he repeated it a few times, I got up. Now, when I face a task like doing dishes, working, or something I don't want to do, I remind myself that the mind tells the body what to do. I take a deep breath in, quietly exhale, and then do whatever needs to be done. Story 45. I need to get it done immediately so I don't spend my entire day thinking about it. Anxiety is overwhelming. Story 46. I love completing tasks. It gives me a satisfying feeling. I'm always eager to take on tasks to experience that sense of accomplishment. Story 47. My legs start moving before my mind has even finished processing the idea. My theory is that I can always sit back down if the finished thought is mediocre, but if it's good, I'm already moving. Story 48. Start thanking your past self for the things you did. This may encourage your present self to engage in similar actions as you recognize the appreciation from your future self. Story 49. Oddly, I find myself chanting in my head phrases like, "Don't put it down, put it away. Don't stop now. You have already started. You'll thank me later." Story 50. When it comes to home cleaning and similar tasks, just do the task for 5 minutes. You'll end up doing it for at least 15. It helps. Story 51. I find it mentally exhausting to have things hanging over my head, so I just do them. It requires less effort to complete a task and get it over with than to think about it multiple times and still have to address what I am putting off. Story 52. Sometimes I do find that certain tasks require emotional energy, but it frustrates me when I don't accomplish anything during the day. I can never relax all day. I need to get something done. Additionally, having everything completed, like laundry, a clean car, and a tidy room, helps me mentally. Story 53. I will procrastinate later. When I want to do a task, I eliminate as much friction as possible. If I want to draw, I will have my drawing software open, the drawing tab in position, and a canvas ready. This automatically gets me going. Story 54. I am excited to finish tasks and realize that the sooner I start, the sooner I finish. Even if I am unsure of how to begin, I visualize moving in the general direction of my goal and have full confidence that I can adjust, refine, or completely shift my approach. Confidence through competence and competence through practice. Story 55. My grandmother always said that the hardest part about doing anything is getting started, and I have kept those words in my mind since she passed. If I need to get something done and realize I am starting to think too much about how it will be difficult and that I don't want to do it, I begin to move, change my environment, or write down steps to complete the work so I can break it into smaller pieces. Then it becomes much easier to get started. Once I've started, I usually don't want to stop until it's completely done, unless it's very challenging, in which case I ensure I complete a minimum amount of work. Story 56. Every time I tell myself that getting started is the hardest part, it really comes down to doing what needs to be done and just pushing through. Story 57. I have many tasks to complete, so I am going to finish them as early as possible. If I complete everything, then I can relax with some beer on Saturday. Story 58. I set a goal to complete 10 tasks today, and I will do it. I would rather have a stressful Monday than a stressful week. Story 59. I feel a sense of accomplishment from checking items off my to-do list, especially after witnessing how my procrastinating friends have faced negative consequences for delaying tasks. Story 60. It depends on the situation. While finding another job is important, there are essential tasks to handle. The local council wants to increase the rates, so I have been reviewing lengthy documents to understand and challenge this decision. These 40 pages contain important yet uninteresting facts. Unfortunately, it impacts my finances. It feels a bit like reading a manual for something that needs to be done but is not enjoyable. Story 61. I wrote an article about it that has been republished, but I can't say that what I do is a winning formula that works for everyone. It works for me. It's based on knowing the tricks I play to avoid doing something. I steer clear of one project and focus on something I'm not supposed to be working on. To counter this, I open two things at the same time. I know I should be updating my Internet Movie Database profile, but the outdated content management system and platform feel like going back in time, and I dislike it. I also need to reach page 15 on a script. So I open both projects, knowing I'll work on the one that's the most enjoyable, the script. When I encounter a problem in the script that I can't solve right away, I procrastinate by tinkering with the Internet Movie Database profile. I have two reasons for pretty much everything in my life: enter a contest and have assets I can take to a conference. Not winning the contest is acceptable. It serves as a great deadline for asset creation. If I do win the contest, it's a bonus, and sometimes I do. Story 62. I get immense satisfaction from finishing tasks, and I can't fully relax until they are completed. I don't do anything special to develop my skills. It's just who I am. Story 63. I honestly don't know. It just hit me one day. All that time I spent procrastinating about whatever I had to do, I could have just gotten it done or at least been halfway through finishing a task. Story 64. Because I find that getting on with things ensures I will have ample time and can take small steps toward a looming task, such as writing a paper or cleaning out a messy garage. Never underestimate the mind's ability to subconsciously figure out solutions when you take extended breaks from a task you have already started. Story 65. Whatever I do otherwise is 99% of the time a waste of time. So I just do what I told myself I wanted to do instead. Story 66. I usually think about how good it will feel once it is finally done, and I can return to procrastinating. Story 67. When I feel like I can't be bothered to do something, I just tell myself to be motivated, and that somehow works. Story 68. It is mainly because I am quite lazy. I just want, more than anything, to sit around and do nothing. Once I have completed the tasks I need to do, I can simply relax. That is why I do not procrastinate. It allows me to enjoy my leisure time. Story 69. My anxiety tells me I will die if I don't do it right now. Not a great tactic, but I do not procrastinate. Story 70. They don't have attention deficit/hyperactivity disorder. That was a joke, but also somewhat serious. If you do have attention deficit/hyperactivity disorder and don't procrastinate, please share your secrets. Story 71. Fear of being undone, being unsuccessful, or mostly if I don't get things done on time, it affects my mental health for the whole day or even the next day. This anxiety drives me crazy at times. Story 72. I work full-time and study part-time while managing a side hustle and trying to maintain a social life. I do not benefit if I cannot complete the tasks I need to, so I might as well focus on at least part of my responsibilities. If I cannot wash all the dishes, then doing the cups and cutlery is sufficient for now. I am not aiming for perfection, but I strive to accomplish what I value spending my time on. Story 73. I knew that half of these answers would come from the same people who do the opposite. The secret is to avoid asking on Reddit. Story 74. I have anxiety, and I constantly tell myself it's better to do it immediately than to do it at the last minute. This is that feeling of impending doom. If I don't do the task now, something terrible could happen. So that's generally how I get things done. Story 75. The relief of getting something done right away far outweighs the anxiety I have when waiting until the last minute. In college, writing a 20-page paper all at once gave me severe anxiety. I'd rather do it slowly over time. That's just me. Story 76. I don't allow myself to procrastinate. I do what I need to do immediately because I know if I put it off, I won't want to do it later. Story 77. My secret? I procrastinate on procrastinating. It sounds strange, but whenever I feel the urge to put something off, I tell myself, sure, you can procrastinate, just 10 minutes later. Then I use that 10 minutes to start the task, essentially tricking myself into getting started. By the time my brain realizes it got fooled, I'm already halfway done and have some momentum. It's like I use a mental strategy to encourage my own productivity. Story 78. I will do it because it needs to be done. I dislike lying in bed with the stress of having a chore to complete later. Story 79. I believe the key is to break tasks into smaller, manageable steps and set clear deadlines for each part. Story 80. For me, it's primarily about time management and caring about the task. Knowing myself well enough to understand how long a task takes allows me to allocate the necessary time. If I need to be somewhere at 8 a.m. and I know it takes me a certain amount of time to get ready and another amount of time to drive there, I can figure out when I need to wake up. The next part is caring enough to recognize that if I don't get up at the right time, I'll be late and may disappoint someone. It's about understanding time management and being committed to following the plan. This approach can be applied to anything. Homework follows the same principle. It's essential to know the deadline, be aware of how long tasks will take, and care about disappointing yourself or your teacher if you don't complete it. The same applies to work tasks or cleaning the house. It's all about time management and valuing a clean space. I set a specific day each week to tackle these tasks, because the schedule dictates that it's the right time. Some people may complete tasks but find themselves rushing at the last minute, which can lead to stress. It's clear that if you're feeling stressed, your time management needs improvement. It's evident that it isn't working if you're overwhelmed because you haven't implemented effective time management strategies. Story 81. Is there anyone who does not procrastinate? Please share your secret. The best advice I can offer is to eliminate all distractions. Everything. It may be difficult at first, but over time it will become easier. Once you achieve a flow state, you will begin to crave hard work. Story 82. I used to procrastinate too much. Now I keep a rigorous to-do list in a document that I can access on my phone and computer. I write down shopping lists, task lists, gym schedules, reminders to take medicine or supplements, water my plants, go to work, call the doctor, call my sister, prepare food, and all the little things I need to remember. Sometimes I rearrange the order and move tasks to different days to fit better. But crossing items off the list gives me a rewarding feeling that helps a lot. Being able to look at the list and mentally prepare for what's coming up is very beneficial. Sometimes when a task appears unexpectedly, it may not be the right time, and you forget about it. If you at least write it down, you can allow yourself to procrastinate for 20 minutes, until after your next meal for energy, or after coffee, or after another higher priority task. Just write it down. You can also plan tasks together for added satisfaction from combining several activities. Yes, a big to-do list document is the way to go. Some people might use a calendar. Story 83. It can be hard for me to get household chores done. We don't entertain much, so it's really just us at home. I put on a podcast that I have on reserve to listen to while doing tasks I don't want to do. It's called Dungeons and Daddies, and it's hilarious. I try to think of it as acts of kindness for my future self and hope that she appreciates her clean kitchen. Story 84. My husband never procrastinates, and when I ask him for advice, he simply tells me to do it without thinking twice. However, he is also the type who sleeps on decisions before making any rash choices. Living in his shoes would be a dream. I am the complete opposite. Story 85. I use a method I call intervals. I set a timer for an unpleasant task and then a timer for a reward, alternating between the two. For particularly unpleasant tasks, I extend the reward timer and shorten the task timer. The key is that I must comply with the timer, even if I feel reluctant, which is often the hardest part. I have found that the unpleasant task usually takes much less time and energy than I anticipated, and I feel much better afterward. When I have multiple tasks to complete, I borrow from Dave Ramsey's snowball method. I start with the smallest tasks to get a quick boost of motivation, then move on to the larger tasks. Some people may find the reverse approach easier, as experiences may vary. Story 86. I don't know. For instance, when I finish eating, I always do the dishes immediately because it has to be done. If you do it right away, you won't have to worry about it later and will have time for other activities. Story 87. I can't relax unless I have what I need to do completed. However, if I have plenty of time to do it, I sometimes wait until the last minute. Story 88. Having something I know I still need to complete makes me more anxious than actually completing the task. Story 89. I have attention deficit hyperactivity disorder and am on the autism spectrum, and I have procrastinated most of my life. I learned that the stress I felt far outweighed the stress from just completing tasks, and that feeling worsened as I got older and the stakes increased. From a practical perspective, it is essential to create a written plan that breaks down tasks into small pieces over time to avoid a last-minute rush. Story 90. I used to set my priorities the night before. If my goal was to go to the gym, I would go first thing in the morning, no overthinking, just get up, brush my teeth, change, and leave. When writing my thesis, my only aim was to make it to the library. What I did there didn't matter, doom scrolling, napping, whatever, just get there. The pattern? I focused on getting started. I never pressured myself to achieve big goals, just enough motivation to get moving. These days, I've shifted toward being more appreciative of what I have, though this definitely takes more time. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.